I had a friend of mine who used to work for me at one of these churches, and he was in graphic design and just one of the most creative people I've ever met. And he has since gone freelance. And as he left the church environment, went to freelance, he realized, and this is a guy who grew up in the church, Christian since birth, as long as he can remember, worked at a church, went to Bible college, all the deal. Mm-hmm. And after he goes freelance, gets out of that, he's like, I don't believe any of this anymore. Like, I just don't believe it. And not out of like, oh, he didn't know. He never really no, he knew. Like he'd been in all the environments, he'd seen all the things, and just came to a conclusion like, I don't buy it anymore. So he came to me, he and I had still been friends, and he came to me and said, hey, I got an idea for a podcast. And I've, debated podcasts forever, but I was like, I don't know. I got to really find something I'm passionate about. Yeah. He's like, what if you and I read the Bible together? And it's a pastor and a skeptic. And I just point out the reasons why I don't think this stuff makes sense. And you get to answer why you still believe it. And I was like so intrigued by that. I'm like, let's do it. So we call it the forest and the trees. The idea being he brings out these trees of like, well, what about this? And what about this? And these are not like, okay, like softball lob, like easy. These are like someone who knows his stuff, has read the Bible, and is like, well, here's the issue with this. And they're legitimate, great questions. Mm-hmm. And then I try to bring us like, okay, with those trees in mind, can we see the bigger forest? Can we still make sense of faith in Jesus? Okay. And then I give my response. And I've told him this, it's so funny because like he'll ask me this really deep question, and I will spend hours that week preparing a succinct, theologically profound answer. I'm like, all right, in 5 minutes, I'm going to answer this question the best anyone has answered this. You know what I mean? And I will like cut, paste, copy. I'm like, refine it, massage it. Yeah. And then we get to the podcast and I'll give him my answer. And I'm like, what do you think? Almost every time he'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty good answer. He's like, he's saying it almost like, good job. But like, I don't believe it, but like, good job. And it's like, all right, someday one of these answers land. But I've really enjoyed it. So we did the book of Hebrews. Mm-hmm. So we've got all of that's posted as of now. We're going to start another book up. We're kind of asking our readers like which book they want to see next. And so we've got a few options there. But we just do a chapter at a time. And he usually asks about 5 questions. I started asking him some questions of like, hey, how do you wrestle with this in your faith? And it's been wild. And what's been cool is it's created a safe space, whether you're a Christian and you've been a Christian your whole life. Right. And you're like, yeah, some of this is kind of weird. And, I still believe, I don't know, if you start reading the Bible, it gets complicated. That verse is kind of weird. And what is that saying? It gives that person space, but also gives someone space like, I don't believe this. I don't understand how people believe this. What's going on with it? And so we have that end of the spectrum is also like, I want to hear what these guys say about this. So it's been really cool.
I mean, it's awesome because you guys come at it from this perspective of we love each other, and we're having this amazing conversation about how we see it differently. And I mean, the world can learn from that because, we're in this world where if you don't adhere to my ideology or my theology or whatever, you're the enemy. You're evil. Yep. And you guys just come at it from this, we love each other, brotherly love kind of thing. And I think that's what makes it really cool.
Well, thank you. It's interesting when we talked about the idea and they hadn't really heard a bunch of it yet, they're like, oh, are you guys debating each other? It's like, no, it's not a debate. It's just a conversation. And I'm not trying to win him over. He's not trying to win me over. It's truly 2 friends saying, let's have a meaningful conversation where we acknowledge going in, we don't see this eye to eye.
Right.
There's not a surprise there. Like he's not going to land where I'm landing on this and, vice versa. But we know that. And it's the relationship that allows us to let's have a meaningful conversation. And to your point, Brian, we need more of that. We need more like, let's sit across the table and have a meaningful conversation, even when we know we're not going to land in the same space, but like, do we not think we could learn from one another? Do we not think like the humanity of the person sitting across the room is worth honoring, and I think we all could do with a bit more empathy to say, hey, I don't agree with you, but I want to understand, where you're coming from. And so for me, it's made me a better Christian just to sit there and go, okay. And it has sharpened me because I think in the church world, if all you do is surround yourself with Christians and you hear the same kind of preaching every week, you think everybody believes this. And why would anybody not believe this? Of course, like everybody here believes this. When you sit with someone who doesn't and you read the Bible with them and you let them point it out, you go, oh, not everybody believes this. And there's a whole bunch of good reasons
and
why.
they're making intellectual points.
Right.
And, yeah.
And that's, I think I think he's more surprising people than I am, because I think they caricature him as like, he's going to be this, atheist. Like we literally get comments online of like, dude, just read the Bible and this would solve it. And he's like, I've read it multiple times. Which part of it are you talking about? Like, he's read it.
Yeah. He knows. Yeah. He knows.
But they're like, no, you just read it. Like, yeah, did it. Which part are you talking about? Like, I've read it all, And so he knows it, and he's very educated, and he still goes, yeah, I understand your answer. I don't agree with it, or it doesn't make sense anymore. And, I just try to make space for that, acknowledge it, and go, there's a lot of people that relate with that.